Every other week, we've seen strange things in Football Manager, and this is right up there with most of them. What we have here is a box tactic. Well, that's because it looks like a box, but the naming of this tactic didn't actually come from the way the tactic is shaped. It has a lot to do with how the tactic operates in attack. It's a 4-3-3 system with no strikers and then 3 players in the attacking midfield phase of the game. So you have an inside forward on support, an inverted winger, a shadow striker that is probably playing as the main attacking threat. In fact, there are 3 attacking threats in this tactic. So there are 2 defensive wingers on support duty and then deep line playmaker in the defensive midfield position. And then you have 2 ball playing defenders and then an inverted winger. You have 2 inverted wingers on support duty. There are no opposition instructions so far and no internal player instructions for the tactic. There's a super keeper on defend duty as well, but then, like I mentioned, there are no internal player instructions for this tactic. So I will be testing this tactic out with 2 teams, Anderlecht in the Belgium League and then AS Monaco in the French League. Anderlecht are expected to finish, where are they? Looking at their club info, they are expected to finish in 6th place, and then Monaco on the other hand, I think they're probably the 3rd best team in the French League. But looking at the club info, so just to confirm, Monaco are predicted to finish in 3rd place behind PSG and Olympique Lyonnais. So we have gone through the tactic, basically like the player roles. Like I mentioned, there are no internal instructions for this tactic, I kid you not. But looking at the team's instruction, then first of all, the mentality is attack. I realize that I sometimes skip the mentality a lot. I don't know why, but the mentality for this tactic is attacking. And then when the team is out of possession, they're expected to play with a much higher line of engagement. It's weird how to say that, how that's going to work when you don't have a striker. But then you have 3 players here in central attacking midfield position. So much higher line of engagement, much higher defensive line. Show the team or use the offside trap and then show the opposition outside. That means defending with a narrow width. And then use type marking, much more often trigger press, prevent your goalkeeper distribution and get stuck in. While the team is in transition, they're expected to counter press and then to counter. The goalkeeper has been asked to distribute the ball to the fullbacks while throwing it long. That's because there is a very high defensive line, so throwing the ball long to the fullbacks is probably the most likely option. In attack, the team's width is fairly narrow. The approach play has been, from the approach play, the team has been asked to pass into space, overlap on both flanks, that's left and right, and the goalkeeper, like we mentioned, has been asked to play out of defense. You can see that the team's passing directness is standard and then the tempo is extremely high. They've also been instructed to run at defense and then walk the ball into the box while playing low crosses. I think low crosses are much of a thing in this Football Manager 2022. So we'll test out the tactic with both teams and then see how well they do come towards the end of the season. If you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button to get notified when new videos come up. I normally test tactics like this for mid-table sides or somewhat hidden teams of Football Manager, teams that people don't really always use all the time, or test tactic with those teams. So we're going to be testing out the tactic with semi or sub-top mid-table teams, so you can see just how good those tactic works as opposed to using an elite side. On rare occasion, I do test tactics with elite sides as well. That's when I pretty much want to just have fun in the FM. More often than not, I test tactics for mid-table sides and Football Manager. So you can subscribe to the channel, hit the like button as well if you actually found this video useful, and we'll get back to the end of the season and see just how well these 2 teams do. To the stats, then we start with Anderlecht in the Belgian Pro League, and the stats do really look for good reading because they lost out in the Euro Cup, that's the Europa Conference League, and then the Belgian Cup also, the Belgian Cup in the 6th round, and then the Europa Conference League in the 1st round. But they finished in 3rd place in the Belgian Pro League, which is probably where they were expected to finish. They did draw a lot of games and then they lost 9 games as well, but they have a goal difference of 26 and then 38 points. That's 11 points adrift of the team that eventually won the league in KRC Genk. Looking at the team stats, then Ghent had the highest amount of goals, Ghent, and then Anderlecht were actually 2nd with 69 goals. The highest was 71 in Ghent, and then they went on only 2 games without losing, which is probably the stretch. So it means the defense is quite open, and then they did lose a lot of games under like most red cards, so there's a lot of tackling. Average attendance, that's really not important right now. And then looking at the way the team turned out, basically in there, looking at their schedule for the entire season, we can see that they did have high victories as well, like 4-0. They did win Charleroi 4-2, and then 5-0 against Royal Antwerp, which is one of the biggest sides in the Belgium League as well. A 7-1 victory over KI. What does KI even mean? And then they had a stretch of good victories and some draws, and a lot of draws as well, a lot of wins. And then they went on a period where there was a lot of defeats, 5 straight games riddled with defeat, and then it probably against Rennes that they lost in the Europa Conference League as well. So that's basically how the tactic worked out for Anderlecht. Off to France then with Monaco. Looking at the competition and how well they finished, Monaco came in second and then they had 90 points. PSG had 94 points and then Monaco had a higher goal difference than Paris Saint-Germain. So the tactic worked perfectly well for AS Monaco, but it didn't do that well for Anderlecht as well. Looking at the team stats, Monaco finished with the highest amount of goals with 115. That's a lot more than PSG that scored just 98 goals. Okay, see me saying just 98 goals. 98 is a lot of goals. And Monaco actually topped that with 115 goals in the French League on alone. Most points were games PSG 2.47, but then Monaco were right in there in second place with 2.37. And looking at the player stats, I'm actually interested to see how well the players did with this tactic. We'll get into the other competitions much later. Wissam Ben Yedder scored 38 goals and then Sofiane Diop scored 28 goals as well. Most assists came from Payet from Olympique Marseille, but Ben Yedder, Minamino, Alexander Golovin and Sofiane Diop all contributed in their assists as well. All of them had double figures in assists. That's actually outstanding looking at the way Monaco turned. I didn't actually expect this tactic to work well for Monaco. I expected Anderlecht to do better with this tactic, but the reverse is the case. Monaco actually did quite well using this tactic and they actually exceeded my expectations. They didn't win the league, but they were that close. They were 4 points adrift of winning the league. Looking at the other competitions then, they got knocked out in the second knockout round against Napoli in the Europa Cup and then the Champions League. They were in the Champions League part, but they didn't actually make it to the Champions League. They went on to win the French Cup as well in the final. I'm interested to see how they went on and who they might have played in the final. So looking at the schedule, then we're going to filter it by cups. And where is it? All competitions gone. And then looking at the French Cup, all the way to the final, 5-0 in the French Cup final against Saint-Etienne. So that's how good the tactic worked out for Monaco. You might want to try this tactic out for yourself. I'm going to attach the link in the description down below so you can test the tactic out and then you can see just how good it works for you. That's a summary of the tactic here at DarkHorse. I'm going to test out more tactics for you in the future. Remember to subscribe to the channel and to turn on the notifications bell so you can get notified when new videos come up. I'll catch you guys in future videos with more tactics like this. See you later.